So there's a lot of different ways that you may need to water, different amounts that you might need to water depending on the soil type, depending on the environment, and depending on the plant. But regardless of any of those factors, there's a very simple way to figure out how much you need to water your plants. And it goes like this. Step 1, water your plants. Depending on the size of the plant, you'll want to water either for an annual 12 inches, large bush 2 feet, or a tree 3 feet, and use a water probe to make sure you've achieved that depth. Okay, check. We've done that. Step 2, go out and check and see how wet your soil is. Now this soil, I can get in there. It's really wet. It's very wet soil. It does not need to be watered. So this is day 1. I don't need to water it. So I would come out here and I would check on day 2. Is it still wet? Yes, maybe a little bit wet. Okay, so day 2, I don't need to water it. Come out on day 3. Is it still wet? Do I need to water it? And day 3, okay, maybe it's drier, but still a little bit wet. Okay, so I might wait and I would check my plants to see how they are doing. Are they drooping? Are they looking really sad and pathetic? Maybe, even though it's not fully dry, maybe it's time to water anyway. Day 4, I come out and check and I look. And oh, it's really dry. I can't even, I can poke my finger all the way down and it's still super dry. So this is hypothetically, right? Okay, so then on day 4, I would water again. So what I've learned is that for this season, for these plants, for my soil type, I would need to water about every 4 days in order to keep my plants happy. And as the season progresses and changes, I would set up a schedule. Okay, they're gonna water every 4 days. And then as the weather changes, I come out in between waterings and I check on the plants and I check on the soil and I see, do I need to make adjustments? Maybe they need more water. Maybe they need a longer watering duration. Maybe I need to be watering more frequently. And it's really, you're just kind of listening to your plants, really. And you're listening to the soil and you're just taking information day by day to see how it's doing. Now, what things can we do to decrease the amount that we need to water? Well, one thing that you can do, and my soil doesn't have it, it's basically just pure compost, is you could consider adding in something like peat moss or coconut coir. And these are things that will actually hold on to water inside of the soil and make it so that it really sits in the soil for longer and doesn't just keep draining straight through the soil as you water. And I know that the soil in our garden beds does not have a lot to hold on to the water, so it would be a really good idea if you feel like you're watering a lot and your plants still look thirsty, maybe add some of the coconut coir or peat moss that I talked about. It's peat moss, sphagnum moss, any of those kinds of things. Just kind of work them into the soil, and then that will help you retain moisture in the soil. Another thing that you can do is to mulch. Mulching is really great. It can increase your pest instance. I, in this area, just haven't really done a whole lot of maintenance here, but you can do like a natural organic mulch, wood chips. I know that there's kinds of rubber mulch. There's alfalfa grass that you can use, and what those things do is they create a layer between the sun and the soil and help prevent evaporation of water out of the soil. Another thing you could do is, you don't necessarily do it here, but if you wanted to do like a plastic sheeting over the top, do a kind of greenhouse style, that would help you. Not really very practical in Arizona, but it's something that you could do right now. And yeah, those are kind of the tips and trips that I can think of just at the moment. Anyway, this was a very, very fast and simple breakdown of how to know what you need to be watering in Arizona.